Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a wear test on the new Colourpop Tinted Moisturizer. This is a look that I got, and if you would like to know how this goes, then please keep on watching. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is put on sunscreen. Because this tinted moisturizer doesn't have sunscreen in it, I need to put some on. My favorite one is this Neutrogena Sunscreen. It is blue. It comes out blue. I'm running low. It has like a light blue tint, but don't be afraid because that does not show up on your skin. You just take some and then rub that on. This is an SPF 50. They also have it in 30. I do already have my moisturizer and eye cream on and all that good stuff. I did not buy the primer or setting spray, I think it is, that came with the collection, so I'm going to use this Wet n Wild Cucumber setting spray and priming spray. So it's a 3-in-1. Prep, set, and refresh. Smells good. Smells like real cucumbers. Let me introduce you to this guy while my setting spray is drying up. I chose this color online based on the images of the models they had, as well as the undertone and all that good stuff. So it's a rough guesstimate. It's a tinted moisturizer, so it should be a little forgiving because it is in thinner coverage, so you don't have to have the exact match to your skin tone with these. So let's see if this color is a good match. I mean, matching to your hand isn't usually the best option. My face is lighter than my body. I do tend to go a little bit darker just to kind of match to my body, but nothing a little bronzer can't fix if it's not. So there's half a pump. Just blend that out for you guys. It's I don't know, it feels like a gel almost. And it actually has a little more coverage than I thought it would. On my hand, it does look like it is a little bit light, but this will probably match my face and my fall to winter color when I get a little bit lighter. So I'll use bronzer and powder to kind of darken it up a little bit. Let me introduce you to the sponge. So this is the sponge that comes in the collection. I want to say it was $7. I'll list the prices down below. And then this is a beauty blender. They are both wet, so here's a size comparison for you guys. You have a flatter side here, as well as a pointy side on this end, and then obviously around it's kind of like a beauty blender where it is on the rounder side, so you can use this side to like buff in, if you will. I personally really like this flat edge. I've come to like it in like the Fenty Beauty sponge and the, excuse my sponge, it's really dirty, but I use this sponge a lot. It's from e.l.f. It's very similar to that one. This one, however, is dry right now, so when you wet it, it gets huge and it makes life a lot easier when you're blending super quick. So this is a wet, this is a dry sponge. If this were wet, this would be a little more than 1.5 times bigger than this one, but the shape's very similar. I know I say this e.l.f. one is $4. Another alternative if you can't get this sponge. So I think that setting spray is all done and ready to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and pump out one pump. I'm gonna go ahead and apply that all over and then see how that goes. It's picking up my sunscreen. I don't know if you can see that, but you see the product that's rolling under my neck right here? Kind of like if you don't let a primer set all the way before adding a foundation on top. So that's happening, the rolling situation. Guys, so here is one full pump all over. You can definitely still see that there's a little bit of redness around my nose. You can see the redness in my cheeks up here. I don't see an issue with the color that I chose. The coverage is very light. I didn't expect it to be super full coverage either, so I'm not mad at that. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and add So here is another layer of the tinted moisturizer. I'm gonna add maybe like less than half a pump into this area here, which is usually my red area, and then onto my cheeks where I can see some of my redness showing through more. I'm gonna tiny bit more and then I'll come right back. Okay, so this is the finished look with 2 layers and a teeny bit extra around my nose and on my cheeks. I am now gonna go ahead and move on to concealer. I'm gonna use a Colourpop concealer in the shade medium 22. I'm gonna move on to concealer now, and the concealer that I'm gonna use is a Colourpop No Filter concealer. This concealer is definitely a medium full to full coverage concealer, so I would recommend using this for spot concealing. And if you're gonna use it underneath the eyes, because the tinted moisturizer has less coverage, you're gonna wanna use a light hand with the concealer. I use a little bit more around my nose just because I can still see the redness. Alright, taking the sponge, I'm gonna flip it over and then use the pointed sides to get underneath my eyes. This is not good. There's product rolling up right here, and I don't have any of the tinted moisturizer directly underneath my eyes, so I don't know why it's rolling up this much, but it is tacky. And I don't have the sunscreen directly underneath my eyes. The only thing I have under there is my eye cream. I'm definitely not a fan. You guys see that? Like, come on. Like, there's definitely product rolling up underneath my eyes right here. And I know it's not the concealer because I use the concealer on a regular basis and this doesn't happen. So I don't know if it's the sponge just picking it up. Maybe I'll use the beauty blender. I'm gonna try this again. I'm gonna use a beauty blender and see if that helps. I'm so scared. Okay. There's no rolling up that's happening, so it could be the sponge. Use a beauty blender the second time around and it is not looking the way it was looking earlier. No product buildup whatsoever. It's a bummer because it worked well for the face, so I'm like kind of confused on what happened there, but maybe the texture of the concealer was different and the sponge wanted to grab it. I don't know, but all I know is that beauty blender sealed the deal for me. Now that we have the tinted moisturizer on, I'm gonna go ahead and use a setting powder as I always do. I typically use a foundation powder with color in it, whether it be sheer or full coverage, just to kind of help lock it in place and add a tiny bit more coverage. And because this is a little bit lighter than my skin, not really noticeable, but it is a little bit lighter, I'm gonna use a setting powder. This is, don't laugh at me, this is the No Filter Sheer Press Powder in dark. Obviously I love the powder. It is very sheer, it's not a full coverage foundation powder in any sense, but I love using this on top of my foundation to help set it. It is deeper than my skin tone, obviously you can see that. So what I like to do is use a really fluffy powder brush and then just lightly buff it all over. Alright, moving on, we are going to go ahead and add a translucent powder underneath the eyes to help set the concealer. I'm going to use the Colourpop No Filter Setting Powder in Translucent. So keeping with the drugstore theme, I'm going to go ahead and use this blush, bronzer, and highlight palette from Joah Beauty. It looks like this. And I'm just going to use it for the bronzer and the highlighter. I'm not going to put on any blush today. Okay, bronzer and a slight bit of highlighter is on. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my eyes and I'll be right back. The products I use for my brows are the Benefit Goof Proof Pencil in number 5. The Colourpop Brow Gel, and then for my eyes, I'm going to use the Wet n Wild Rose in the Air eyeshadow palette. Alright, eyes are done, so I'm going to go ahead and add on my lip. This is the Colourpop BFF number 3 liner. Lip liner is on. I'm gonna go ahead and add my lipstick. I am gonna use the shade Come On Sis from Colourpop. And this guy's brand new, actually I haven't used it yet. It's like a mauvey color. Alright, this is everything, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and set my face and then head out. This, again, is the Wet n Wild Cucumber Setting Spray. Face is set and I am ready to head out. Here's the finished look. It is 2:18 p.m. I'm going to head out and we are going to see how well this wears. I'll be back. Okay, so it's 9:45 p.m. We're gonna go over some quick pros and cons. Starting off with the pros, I see that the coverage, and we did have very little to begin with, is actually still here, so it didn't really rub away, which is really awesome for a tinted moisturizer. Second thing I noticed, I don't see any oxidation, so the color remained the same. Third, I don't see a huge amount of shine. Yes, I am really oily, so I do expect to get shiny throughout the day. I mean, there's shine, but it looks more like a natural amount of oils in the skin. Lastly, I did put on a little bit of bronzer and highlighter. I didn't put much on, so the little that I did put on, I still actually see a hint of. It's not as saturated as it was when I initially put it on, but it's still there. So it held that pretty well, considering the wear time and my skin type. So those are some good pros, so thumbs up for that. Moving on to our cons. The biggest con that I had with this tinted moisturizer had to have been the balling up of the product. And I was using the sponge that came with, you know, that Colourpop designed for this line specifically. And I noticed that when I was using this sponge that I was getting product that started to roll up. And I'm assuming it was my sunscreen, which I did let set, so it was picking that up, and I was able to get it to like rub off down here and then sweep it away once I was applying it down in my neckline. What was harder though to get rid of was the ball up of product right underneath my eyes when I was applying the concealer. That I had to remove completely and then reapply with the Beauty Blender, which worked absolutely fine. Unfortunately, with this sponge though, we weren't having as much success. If you are looking for something with a ton of coverage, this isn't going to be for you. It's definitely something that you're going to wear as your skin, but better, basically. So one other thing I noticed about this that I didn't like is that it doesn't have sunscreen. Typically with tinted moisturizers, you kind of, now in the world of BB creams and CC creams that have sunscreen built in, especially a higher SPF, anywhere from a 30 to 50. That's what I was expecting. Unfortunately, there isn't any sunscreen in here, so you do have to put on your own before applying. Those are the only cons that I have with this tinted moisturizer so far. So I'm definitely gonna rate it 7.5 out of 10, and I would rate the sponge, I give it a 6 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you'd like to see more reviews, please let me know what you'd like to see in the comment box below. Make sure you're subscribed to see future videos from me and give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Thank you guys.